Howdy ho, Maplers, and welcome to Kaiser, the Nova Warrior, and our last Nova character, at least for now. My plan for the final 5 250s is to have one of every class, and unfortunately Cadena is my only thief remaining. So she is kind of in purgatory until we get a new thief announcement, but that's neither here nor there. We're here for Kaiser, our 31st 250. Holy moly, boys. People were giving Kaiser a lot of chagrin and a lot of bad vibes in all the comments I saw talking about Kaiser. I don't know where they got that impression from. This class is amazing. Like, it is a knockout hit. Great at mobbing, great at bossing. It feels good to play. Kaiser is very high up on my recommended classes list, especially for a warrior. For the gear, it's all the same stuff as usual. Meso obtain accessories, just so I get more money while doing this because I'm burning through a lot of Mesos releveling these symbols every 250. I need to make it back somewhere, and every bit of Meso accessory that I can throw on a character helps me spend less time on my 0 Meso farmer, and that's a win-win for me. Now, as with most of my warriors, this is my weakest gear set. It's slightly stronger than it was before. I changed around a couple B-pots, worked on some flames and all that, but Kaiser really didn't need all of that much funding in terms of damage. It does have problems with its summons being relatively weak, but you can stack those up for the most part, and they do their job very, very well. For your inner ability on Kaiser, you definitely want this +1 attack speed line. And for Kaiser, you do want your second line primarily to be buff duration, because your final form where you manually cast it after building up your morph gauge, that is affected by buff duration, and this is a key part of your burst and your bossing damage output. While you're in final form, you get 15% more final damage. That's pretty huge because that applies to all of your burst after going into final form. And then for your final line, ideally you want a boss damage line, or % damage to status enemies. Either one works, they're both pretty good. Kaiser doesn't really have too many problems with crit rate. He's definitely in a better league for crit rate than Angelic Buster is, so not too many problems there. And for the V Matrix, as always, 31 classes in, it's still going to be right there. First spot, decent holy symbol. It's the best thing in the universe, dudes. EXP, drop rate, 100% uptime. No fuss, no muss. It's a must. And then for Kaiser, for the boost nodes, you only need 2 trios. Your primary trio for mobbing is going to be Stone Dragon, Inferno Breath, and Blade Burst. Now, Stone Dragon and Inferno Breath are very weak. They are effectively your summons. Stone Dragon being a classical summon, and Inferno Breath being a quote-unquote summon, where the fire it leaves behind is technically a summon. But these are both exceptionally low damage abilities. When they're fully one-shotting, Kaiser is an amazing mobber. But these really only fully one-shot when you're close to the point where your soul damage is fully one-shotting. And this is a warrior class. Warrior soul damage ain't great. For the vast majority of players, these two skills more than likely will go hand in hand. You use Inferno Breath, and then you put Stone Dragon on top of the fire, because Stone Dragon vacuums in mobs around it that it hits, and if the fire is on top of Stone Dragon, it's just keeping those mobs on top of the fire, helping these two skills mob as much as possible. Works out perfect. And then Blade Burst is just your main mobbing skill. It's not just a main mobbing skill, like, Blade Burst is insane. It's got probably one of the best hitboxes for a warrior mobbing skill that isn't named Cleave. It's ridiculously good. It also hits 12 mobs base. It's a 2-part attack, so if you're fully one-shotting with just the first half, and you're on Frenzied Spawn, you can kill a second wave of mobs that spawn in after your attack. It's super, super good. And then your second trio is going to be Wingbeat, Gigas Wave and Draco Surge, and Tempest Blades and Advanced Tempest Blades final damage. This is pretty much your entire bossing here. Wingbeat, super handy. Not the most damage output, but it's something you want to maintain if you can. It's also a nice way to get damage in when you can't be right up close to the boss, since you can just throw these out from a distance and they'll travel to the boss. Gigas Wave can sort of be used as a mobbing skill. While you're in final form it does mob, and as well Draco Surge every 6 seconds makes this an actual mobbing skill, and that's pretty handy, so that's good. And then Tempest Blades are pretty much just for bossing. This trio you can pretty much keep off until you're either doing Dojo or Dream Defender. That's what I did. And then for the Kaiser skills. Oh man, they're all so good. Your very first one, Nova Guardians. Now I'll preface this by saying I didn't max this out just because generally I try to keep my skills around level 10 to save on nodes, but if you can afford it, I would highly recommend maxing out Nova Guardians because they stay out longer the higher level this skill is. Up to I think like 48 seconds at max rank, could be wrong on that, but it is very good. And what you ideally want to be doing is cycling Nova Guardians and Dragon Blaze. These are your 2 5th job mobbing skills, and they are insane at mobbing. So the more uptime you have on these dudes for your mobbing, it's just a pure win. And then for bossing, they also do a whole heck of a lot of damage. You've got 3 little Kaiser dudes, and for once in this game's life, Summon AI is actually good on these things. They will prioritize the boss. They will all teleport and just gang up on whatever you're beating on. They're so good. It's so nice to have AI that actually hits what you're targeting. No more kooky kitties like Wild Hunter where they're just wandering off on their own. These guys actually do what they're supposed to, and it is amazing. Not to mention they all mob exceptionally well because they can all hit individually 10 enemies, so theoretically one attack from all of these guys could clear 30 mobs on your map. They're wild, they're great. But that's not the best skill Kaiser has. It sounds really good, doesn't it? But it gets better. Dragon Blaze is, bar none, hands down, the best skill in the game besides Mecha Carrier, dude. Dragon Blaze is so obscenely good. It mobs while it's up, it mobs while it's down, does insane burst. No clown. This skill is so wonderful to use. It will literally just full clear your map while you're flash jumping around on Frenzied Spawn for its entire duration. Its hitbox is about the size of your screen, and it does some insanely good consistent damage for bossing. Not to mention, when it's off cooldown, you get to spawn little fire orbs every 10 seconds. So not only when this thing is down does it actually help your mobbing, it's just helping you everywhere. It's so good. The AI on these fireballs is super nice too, because they will just sit around and wait for mobs to spawn to find new targets. The targeting AI on these things are top notch. They're not just gonna fizzle like your Tempest Blades will, for instance. These things will hang around and wait for something to kill. It's so satisfying to use this ability. And then your bossing / mobbing skill, Draco Surge. Every 6 seconds, your Gigas Wave gets empowered with Draco Surge, which allows it to hit 8 enemies instead of 1, and it also throws out a little aftershock of damage that will go quite a distance. It also has 50% IEDs, so it's extra handy for bossing. Realistically, this thing isn't super important. Again, unless you're doing like Dojo or Dream Defender, I wouldn't heavily prioritize throwing this on your V Matrix, but I would recommend it once you are doing those things because it is a lot of damage. This is also your key damage booster while you're off burst. Like while your Nova Guardians are down, while your Bladefall is down, while your Dragon Blaze is down, this is the thing that's going to be making up your damage during that downtime because it's up every 6 seconds, and since it has an increased range, you can cast it from safety very easily to get these hits off. It's really nice. And then of course, decent speed infusion, decent sharp eyes, crit rate, crit damage, attack speed, everything anyone could want. Throw them on when you got a spot for them. But the final Kaiser skill, primarily their bossing skill. You can use it for mobbing. I didn't really find much success with it. Bladefall. This thing is absurd for burst. It's also very finicky. Alright, so you need Tempest Blades out to use this. This will eat up your Tempest Blades. That's not that bad. Tempest Blades recently got their cast animation decreased by quite a bit, and that alleviated my key problem with Kaiser originally. So this is even more user-friendly. This also only has a 30-second cooldown, meaning this thing's gonna be up quite often. When you use this thing, you launch out your swords and they implant themselves in the ground. After a few seconds, they explode. Now the problem with that being, any boss that can move can just move out of the explosion range. That sucks. Because these things, when they stack up on a boss, will do a hell of a lot of damage. And it feels horrible every time a boss in Dojo will just be like, lol, nope, teleports just slightly out of their range, completely negating any damage you get. Oh, I feel so bad. But another part of this is when they explode, they give you 3 extra charges of Draco Surge, which means you could potentially have 4 Draco Surges in a row, which is just adding burst on top of burst for this ability. It feels really good. Think of this similar to pre-change blast throwing for a Night Lord. You use this plus Draco Surge in between your full bursts so that you maintain good damage the whole way through. Ideally, you want to line all of them up for one super big burst, and you can do that because of the low cooldowns, but these are the skills you'll be using when Draco Surge or when Draco, Blaze, and Nova Guardians are on cooldown. They're such good supplemental damage to your DPS. They're really, really nice. It's just a bit tedious to line this up for bosses that can move because they can so easily get out of it unless they're bound. And then, of course, character building 1. It's just hands down the best EXP nodes you can have if you're training on spawn boosters. Throw it on whenever you got a spot. And True Arachnid Reflection, you get this for completing the Will storyline. Decent mobbing, decent bossing. Throw it on when you get a spot. Now Weapon Aura and Blink I really only threw on for the damage increases. Blink recently got changed, it gives passive attack, that's super nice. And Weapon Aura gives a final damage buff, although a very small one while it's active. And it gives a little bit of supplemental mobbing. Kaiser really doesn't need the extra mobbing. More often than not, this isn't even going to hit any mobs. But hey, 2% final damage is 2% final damage. You can't really go wrong with that. Now for the training. For levels 200 until 205. Man, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Eastern Cave Path 2 or Below the Cave. Both fantastic maps. Now, this is where you'll start to learn that Bladefall, or Blade Burst rather, has a really, really good hitbox. You can just flash jump along through this map and blade fall across, and you'll hit everything in this map because the blades come in from the top of the screen, meaning their hitbox is actually quite a bit higher than the exploding blades themselves. It feels super, super good to train with this ability. And if you're strong enough that your summons are one-shotting, ideally you want to split up Inferno Breath and your dragons, or your stone dragon, so that they cover different parts of the map, and then you just cover the parts that they are not. Obviously, cycle your 5th job skills on cooldown because Dragon Blaze is going to give you mobbing while it's up and mobbing while it's down. It's beneficial to you to be using the skill on cooldown, and similar, Nova Guardians just help out your mobbing exponentially because they're going to be tagging any mobs that you're not. And just flash jumping around, you'll get to 205 in no time. Kaiser is not a slouch when it comes to EXP rates. She is exceptionally fast for a warrior. Like, everything I was hearing about Kaiser coming into this 250 was a lot of negative Nancy talk, and holy moly, they have never been more wrong, dude. Kaiser's EXP rates, especially for a warrior that isn't named Zero or Adele, are insane. And then, for 205 until 215, if you don't have the Arcane Force for a hidden map, ideally you want to be training in T-Boy's Research, or in T-Boy's Train 1, rather. For this, if you're lacking in damage, you can just line up Inferno Breath and your Stone Dragon on this platform, and then you just hop, skip, and jump with your Blade Burst from corner to corner, getting some of the easiest, breeziest EXP rates you could imagine. And it doesn't take too much funding for this area either. If you're lacking in that 10 arcane power, you can just throw some extra points into Hyper Arcane Force, join a guild, get that extra little bonus, or heck, if you've got an event title, that'll push you over for bonus damage here as well. This map is very, very easy to one-shot with all the ways to get Arcane Force right now. I would highly, highly recommend going here instead of sticking it out in Below the Cave or Eastern Cave Path 2. However, if you are strong enough, not the Hidden Research Train, I would recommend until 215 the Hidden Underground Train, primarily because this just functions better with Blade Burst. Since the blades come in from the top of the screen again, you can hit every platform in this map just by flash jumping and using Blade Burst. And if you can hit it with Blade Burst, you can doubly hit it with Dragon Blaze. You can effectively flash jump from corner to corner in this map, full clearing it on Frenzied Spawn without even using one of your summons. Of course, you can always throw the summons down if you want to. If you just want to focus on a smaller section of the map, that works too, but you don't even need them at this point. So for those reboot players who can't get their Lucid Souls this early, this is insanely beneficial for you. These maps are super, super good. Kaiser does not require a bunch of pre-planned funding to be an amazing mobber in these early levels. He's just gonna breeze right through on into your next training area in Yum Yum Island, 215 until 223. You can either go to the Hidden Iliad field, or I would recommend the Hidden Mushbed field. Primarily, I would recommend this because it works just like the last two maps. You can flash jump through this map, and with your Blade Burst, you can hit everything on the map. Oof, failed the rune. Terrible at DDR. But yeah, just like your other training areas, Blade Burst hitbox is so gosh diddly darn good. You can triple plat effectively everywhere you go. This is quite a bit better than Kaiser used to be back in the days of grounded Blade Burst only. Now that you can flash jump with this ability, it's just increased Kaiser's mobbing tenfold. This class does not slow down in the leveling department at all. I did not hit a wall once for EXP rates. You'll just breeze on through here and on into Lachlan. Now for Lachlan, we do have two maps to recommend. If you are strong enough that your summons are 1 or 2 shotting, I would highly, highly, highly recommend Occupied Dance Floor 2, or sorry, Outlaw Street 2, the other 2 map. Set down your Stone Dragon and Inferno Breath on the bottom. Inferno Breath's hitbox is tall enough that it will occasionally set down fire on the second platform, and then just drop Lucid Soul up there. And then this is where you want to start cycling in your Nova Guardians and your Dragon Blaze, because you can effectively full clear Outlaw Street 2 with the help of your 5th job skills. Kaiser is such a good mobber, surprisingly. Like, it doesn't need to be the most flashy thing in the universe, although it is still very flashy. Kaiser does not slow down when it comes to mobbing. When you're really funded, you've got your summons to take over sections of the map, and it just helps you to improve your clear for these larger spawn areas. And if you are lacking in that damage, don't fret, because you've also got amazing maps with Rev Place 3. Similar to the Hidden Mushbud field and the Hidden Train, this is primarily just using Blade Burst. Again, since Blade Burst comes in from the top of the screen, what's that worrying about stuff clumping in on the top of the house? Who cares about that when your main mobbing skill can cover the entire house? You can literally just go corner to corner here. Flash jump, Blade Burst, flash jump, Blade Burst. Want to stop using Blade Burst and just flash jump? Turn on Dragon Blaze. Oh man, dude. Kaiser is such a good mobber. Like, potentially my opinion of this class would have been tarnished if I did it before the 4th Vs came out, but oh man, I'm glad I waited for those 4th Vs, because Dragon Blaze is a game changer. Like, if you only had Nova Guardians to boost your farming rates in between cooldowns, then I could see it being kind of lackluster. But since you now have Dragon Blaze to throw in while Nova Guardians are on cooldown, that means you're really only ever waiting 25 to 30 seconds for your next amazing supplemental skill to your mobbing. It's so unbelievably good. And you'll want to stay there until 2:30, where you want to transition over on into the Earth Spirits, where, once again, Blade Burst's amazing hitbox comes in to save the day. Yeah, you can hit just about everything just flash jumping through with Blade Burst. It feels really nice, it's really relaxing, doesn't take very much effort, and by golly, these EXP rates are good. And on top of these good EXP rates, we're currently using a semi-surge buff. Kaiser was probably about as fast as a warrior not named Adele or Zero was gonna get. Just blew through these levels. Wasn't ever looking back once. It's super, super good. Again, cycle Draco Flame and your Nova Guardians on cooldown, just to get that extra mobbing in there, clear out those tippity top mobs that you're not going to hit with Blade Burst. But you'll get through those levels super fast on into 235 until 241, or 242 rather. It is Lower Path 1. Now, this one does sort of rely on your summons. Ideally, you want to be setting your Stone Dragon and your Inferno Breath on one of the sides. Again, Inferno Breath is tall enough to hit that second platform. Ideally, you will be flash jumping through the middle of the map, clearing this, and you'll set Lucid on the other side. Now, since you're a warrior, your Lucid Soul damage is going to be pretty bad, so primarily, while you're killing monsters, try to flash jump a little bit farther over to the left to clear the mobs that Lucid is pulling towards you. And again, use your Dragon Blaze and your Nova Guardians on cooldown. This map will pump out some seriously high EXP rates, like Kaiser was getting the same EXP rates as Evan in this map once I put my boost nodes on. That's absurd! If someone told me while I was training Evan that Kaiser was gonna get the same EXP rates in the same map, I would have thought they were crazy. But sure enough, Kaiser's EXP rates do not slow down. Not until you're in the very high level areas where your summons are completely falling on their face. But there is another alternative in case LP1 is too popular for you. The deepest part of the cavern upper path is also another option. Summons here are purely optional. This map also works out best for like Kishin or Fury Totem spawn. Just set down your Stone Dragon and your Inferno Breath on one side. I tended to just drop my Lucid over here since, well, she really isn't going to be killing too many mobs. And then just you flash jump through the map using Blade Burst, using Nova Guardians on cooldown to pick up any stragglers that you're not hitting, and pretty much this map is getting about the same rates as LP1. It is a bit more tedious because your flash jump is not ideal for skipping between these platforms. A trick you can use is to set yourself just behind this rope and not touch your arrow keys at all. You'll be able to flash jump from one corner all the way to the other, turn around, and then just flash jump back the same way. Eventually you'll get off track and fall in the river, but that's not too bad. It happens infrequently enough that it's not going to dramatically ruin your EXP rates or anything. And since this is a much less popular map than LP1, you can tend to find this at fairly high burning, and your EXP rates are almost exactly the same as LP1. It's a great alternative and one I would highly recommend. If for nothing else than just a change of pace, right? I think the last time I made serious use of that map was all the way back on Mechanic, so it's good to see that. And of course, if it's available, 242 until 245, I have to recommend MTS3. It is so obscenely good for Kaiser. Unfortunately for Bera, it is still currently being handled by the Spanish Mafia. Ooh, I think we actually found one. Hold up. For this, you want to be setting your Lucid Soul either on this platform or on the one below it. I tended to set it higher since Blade Burst is going to clear those spiders below. Lucid isn't really going to be clearing all that much. She's mainly just there to hopefully kill those mobs that are clumping up there. And then, just like many other maps in the past, just flash jump through and use Blade Burst's amazing hitbox to clear everything else in the map. Cycle your Dragon Blaze on cooldown, flash jump through. Holy moly, dudes, you can stay in this map until 250 if you wanted to. Heck, if you're in reg servers, stay here until 255 so you can get some more of those Aspera droplets. This EXP rate is unbelievably good. Like, obviously it's a little skewed because of the surge buff currently, but holy crap, 150 billion EXP per hour in Aspera is probably one of the highest I've seen since Mechanic. It's so good, especially for an area where you're still getting droplets on top of your node stones. It's really, really good. If only for the few levels. Stay there until 245 before transitioning to Celis. It is still a very hard map to get because of all these Spanish Meso farmers, but if you can get your hands on one, it'll serve you well. And then 245 until 250. No PD4, unfortunately. Kaiser just doesn't really work out well for PD4. Fortunately enough, they got the next best thing, PD1. Now here's where your summons are going to start to have an issue, especially with my level of funding. They'll stop one-shotting, and that's sort of a problem. It's not too much of a problem that we can't overcome, though. For here, instead of setting them in separate areas, we're going to stack all three of them on top of each other. So you want your Stone Dragon, your Inferno Breath, and your Lucid Soul all stacked up on this top platform. They're going to work together to clear those mobs while we flash jump along the bottom of the map and clear everything else here. Use your Nova Guardians on cooldown. While you're mid-flash jump, they will occasionally get up to that top platform and help your summons clear, which is super beneficial. If not, they're pretty much just clearing everything that you're flash jumping past to get to other mobs. It's insane how good the EXP rate is here. It's pretty much 150 bill per hour with the surge buff. It is beyond absurd. I believe off event, this would probably be around 115, 120 bill as long as your summons are able to adequately clear the top. And that's really, really good. Like, that is punching close to AB for EXP rates. And AB, as we all know, is my second fastest 250. So Kaiser definitely had the potential to be one of the fastest 250s if I wanted it to be. This is one of the best mobbing warriors in the game. The problem with it being, the higher level you go, the harder it gets to keep up with your mobbing. Because as I said at the start of the video, your summons are not very strong. Like, they are all one damage line, one 300% attack damage line, one 400% attack damage line. Warrior Lucid Soul damage. Can you see the issue here? Once you're transitioning into Cernium, Burnium, and Hotel Arcus, these little dudes aren't gonna be cutting it anymore, unless you're extremely funded. And I'm talking extremely funded, because even the strongest Kaisers in Barra currently are having troubles with some of these areas. They're not gonna be pulling their weight very much. You're gonna have to be stacking them up like I was there in PD1. Now that's not terrible, but it does limit your options for versatility with training areas. It does mean you're going to be in smaller maps where your summons can just take one small section and you hopefully are able to full clear another one. Again, it's not too bad. You can work around it by using Nova Guardians and Dragon Blaze. Heck, in these higher level areas, even throwing in Bladefall as a mobbing skill would be beneficial, because again, this gives you multiple uses of Draco Surge, and Draco Surge has a ton of damage, so it'll help you one-shot those extra tanky mobs a little bit easier. Kaiser does have workarounds, but it requires a lot more effort and forethought while you're mobbing to get the same EXP rates as other classes, but it doesn't mean they're gonna fall off super hard. I think Kaiser is more than capable of keeping up with most of the classes in the game when it comes to training, especially in the higher ends. They've got good damage. Another small drawback is Blade Burst is a two-part attack, so its upfront damage isn't amazing because it's relying on the second half as well. It is technically a total of 9 damage lines: your original strike when it pulls the blades down, and then the explosion when the blades explode. It can make it feel a bit awkward, but once you get the feel for it down, you see, oh, the first hit's leaving it low enough that the second explosion's gonna kill the mobs. You don't have to worry about it, you just flash jump through like normal. For the bossing on Kaiser, oh lads. My only issue coming into Kaiser in terms of bossing was Tempest Blades, because with my horrendous ping, like 350 to 400 ping average to Maple Story, using Tempest Blades felt super clunky. Like, there was no real easy way to weave them in to actually get them out, and especially when they're needed for Bladefall, which is a big part of your burst, you want it to feel as fluid as possible, and that just wasn't happening before. However, this recent patch decreased the animation startup for them, and it feels wonderful. Like, Even with my terrible ping, I can fairly effortlessly weave spawning Tempest Blades in between using Gigas Wave, in between throwing out Wingbeats. I barely miss a beat anymore getting these things out. It was night and day pre and post patch doing my dojo runs. They're so much nicer to get out. You're not going to drop as many Gigas Waves while you're bossing. Feels fantastic. And that was pretty much my only real problem with Kaiser's bossing. They have good damage, they have good burst, their consistent damage uptime is amazing because of Draco Surge and Bladefall having such low cooldowns. You're able to use them quite a bit in between your full burst. The only problems Kaiser has is its lack of vertical mobility. Kaiser doesn't have an up jump. They are severely limited vertically. They have a 0 cooldown rope lift, but that's not really applicable everywhere, especially for bossing. There aren't many places and instances where rope lift is going to be your saving grace for vertical mobility. So you rely really heavily on your final form teleport, and even that isn't enough sometimes. Kaiser's flash jump isn't the greatest in the universe. It's a warrior flash jump. It's purely practical. It gets the job done. It's a flash jump, but it's not going to be getting over major hitboxes on some of the bossing attacks. So you really have to time out your teleport, or you have to be using your iframe very, very well. Now, Kaiser isn't that bad for survivability. They do have Grand Armor now, which was recently changed this patch to be a % max HP block ability, so you can survive 100% max HP attacks. It lasts for 12 seconds, so it's fairly generous on that. As well, you have Ancestral Prominence, which gives you an iframe for the duration of the animation, which is quite a long animation, so you can use that to dodge a lot of stuff. It's not that bad. For the final form itself, because of the teleport, you can use final form while you're mobbing. I really didn't because I didn't see a need to, but for larger areas, especially for like Cernium, Burnium, and Hotel Arcus, you can make use of final form as a mobbing tool just as well as you can a bossing tool. Again, while you're in final form, you get a teleport ability by recasting final form. It's a really good teleport. You can use the teleport to cancel your attack animation for Bladefall, so if you really want to speed through a map quick, you can flash jump teleport, flash jump teleport, flash jump teleport, and you will just zoom through the map. So if you're in a quite large area, like most of the higher end training areas are, while Dragon Blaze is active, hop into final form and you can just skip, slide, and teleport through the map so insanely fast that even on frenzied spawn, you're going to be able to complete rotations before stuff starts respawning. It feels pretty gosh darn good. Or if you're just lacking in a little bit of damage, you get 15% final damage for the entire duration of final form. It helps out quite a bit. That final damage as well does apply to your summons, so your Inferno Breath, your Stone Dragon, those are going to be a little bit stronger. It's only 15%, it's not world changing, but they'll be a little bit stronger while you're in final form. So if you're just that little bit of damage off of one shot, that's something you can use on cooldown. You also have your Trance, which you can use to force yourself into final form to get that little final damage boost for a little bit more time. It feels pretty darn good. If you're fully one-shotting or if your summons stacking on each other are enough that they're clearing relatively quick, you don't need to use final form. I really didn't while I was mobbing. I mainly saved it for when Elite spawned so that I had a quick damage boost to help burst through them to get rid of them. It felt pretty darn good. What else is there for Kaiser? Oh, there's the Dragon Link system. How could I forget? Alright, so... Alright, Kaiser has this wonderful thing called Dragon Link. Think of it kind of like a Ron's combo system. You can do a key press followed by the Dragon Link command key to cast abilities without using their hotkey. Now, supposedly, they have their animation sped up, never feels like it, and they get 15% more final damage. It's never worth it. So this is a completely dead system. It's so unwieldy to even use. Most of these combos don't even work 50% of the time, and when they do, you could have just used the main skill itself twice, if not thrice, in the time it took you to cast it using this fucking Dragon Link. It's entirely worthless. So it's a good thing that this is like auto collapse by default, so that new players aren't getting tricked into thinking this is required, because good god, it's fucking worthless. It's never ever worth using because it feels horrific. It might just be that it's ping reliant and my horrible ping makes it unwieldy as fuck, but I never once got it to feel good. I tried to use it to get Wingbeats out because I thought, alright, that might be something important, get Wingbeats out faster. That means I can get back to using Gigas Wave faster, but every time I tried, I got Wingbeat out slower, if not, didn't even get it out, so I was just wasting time, which is never good. Another thing to hit on that'll more than likely get fixed, I believe, in a future patch is while you're in final form, Kaiser does have a significantly larger hitbox. Where's my trance? There's trance. Kaiser is quite a bit larger while you're in your transform stance, which also increases your character's hitbox. So for really tight situations like Varus Hilla, where you need to like squeeze yourself down in between these little strings, Kaiser kind of has a catch-22 there. You either choose not to use your 15% damage boost, which is a lot of damage, especially when it comes to bursting, or you take the risk and just get hit. There really aren't safe places for Kaiser currently. However, in the future, I believe our winter update should come with this. Kaiser's hitbox while in transform is getting shrunk down. Not down to a normal character size, but only slightly bigger than a normal character, not this gigantic Nova Guardian hitbox anymore. So it'll be much more wieldy in the future. That's something we can look forward to. Holy moly, dudes. I really don't know what those people saying Kaiser was gonna be a bad mobber were on about. Everyone was warning me off about Kaiser after I said I was gonna do another 0 cooldown rope lift. Oh, think about the difference in mobbing, dude. There's no difference in mobbing. Kaiser is an absolutely fantastic class. Probably my #1 warrior currently. Like, it is just barely edging out Aran because Aran needs 2 keys to use Beyonder. If you could auto-chain Final Blow into Beyonder, I think Aran would barely eke it out over Kaiser, just because I like the mobility and the flow to Aran a little bit better. But Kaiser is an absolutely superb choice for a warrior. You cannot go wrong with this class. If you're ever been interested in picking up Kaiser as a main character, I would wholeheartedly tell you to. It is very, very good. Solid damage, amazing at mobbing, great at bossing. Oh, I thoroughly enjoyed this character. I also found one of my new favorite abilities in the game. Oh man, I'm gonna miss Dragon Blaze. This thing is absolutely incredible. Mobs while it's up, mobs while it's down. You can't possibly ask for a better skill. But, as I said long ago and far away, back in my younger years, I mentioned if we ever had another Surge buff, I would be doing Blaster. Yeah, and we kind of have another Surge buff, so here I am eating my words. Oh, Jesus. Keep me in your prayers, but we're going to be hopping on into Blaster next. We'll see if I have my hands on the other end. It's going to be an interesting one. But this has been Kaiser. If you have any questions about Kaiser, about my journey to getting all of the classes in MapleStory to 250, or about playing MapleStory in general, do ask in the comments below. I make it a point to answer any and all questions you guys might have, other than the ones that are, when will you do X class? Because I'll always get to the next class, it just takes time. And I hope you enjoyed the video. I will see you next time.